It's recording now. Okay, so welcome to the best professional development you will ever have. I'm just kidding. It's not going to be the best, right? I'm trying to make it as good as possible. Trying to make it as easy for people to understand. Just because Night Lab's a really easy website to use, and it's a open access resource, right? Open educational resource. So it's actually a really cool website to use. So I'm just going to share my screen, and then can y'all see this right here? Can you see this? Yeah, so like all you have to do is Google Nightlab. And what this assignment is going to be based on creating a story map on Nightlab. And Nightlab is a really easy website to use. I don't know if anybody's familiar with story maps, but story maps, you can use them through different geological mapping surveys, basically. And this one's relatively easy to use because story maps are very similar to each other. Basically, they act like little PowerPoints where you can geo-link specific places and sites on each PowerPoint, essentially, right? Each slide. But Night Lab's actually free, and that's why I love it, though. It's through Northwestern University, and it has a bunch of different projects that you can actually use. Story Maps is not just one of them, right? Sorry, my dog's in the background. But Story Maps is just one of them. There's Juxtaposition, SoundSite, Timeline. All of them are free and accessible. The only thing you have to have is a Google account. That's all you need to do. So if you sign into your Google account, you can sign into this. It's really easy to use. That's why I love using it. And that's why I chose to use this right here. And then one thing you have to do is just click on Make Story Map. This is how easy as it is. I'm going to draw you to the one I already did, and then I'm going to go over a little bit of how you kind of get that done. Okay, so this is the ending for Selena Social Justice Bus Tour. And there's a bunch of information right here. I'm going to go over that in a little bit where I actually talk about like how to do this. But for a preview, this is how it looks right here. A preview is pretty cool. If I were to literally draw a website, and it's really easy just to share, you'll get like a better picture of this because this is how it looks in the background right here. This is the map of all the different sites right here. And then this is actually just a little small justification of what the Selena Bus Tour is. This is something that students can use if they want to create just basically an understanding of what this bus tour is doing. In addition to that, one of the requirements for the assignment, which I already uploaded onto the actual overall Google, our Google Meets and everything else, our Google Drive, so sorry, is the fact that it's an assignment too, right? And so I already leveled off like how many slides you need, which places we're gonna go, and then go from there. One of the prerequisites for this actual assignment is actually watching Selena the movie. So you can actually watch Selena the movie for free on YouTube because it's free on YouTube. As long as you have a YouTube account, it's a free ad right here. So you click on it, and the great part about this website is that you can click on actual links that are on here. And so, of course, it's going to lead you to this right here. You can watch it, of course, but it's going to lead us into different locations. One of the first locations we're going to start off with is actually St. Anthony's Hotel, which I already started off last week, because this is where the actual bus tour is going to start. This is where everybody's going to jump on. St. Anthony's Hotel, if you're familiar with this is actually a very interesting site, mainly because a lot of different Mexican revolutionaries were here. Some of the civil rights movement meetings are actually here at St. Anthony's Hotel. But for the most part, St. Anthony's Hotel is just an old hotel in San Antonio. Went over a brief history of that, somewhat of the Mexican Revolutionary activity there, and then just kind of cited my sources where I found them right here. In addition, the second site, this is the one that we're going to do today, is actually the Selena Inc. Boutique. And this is off Broadway by Menke Park. In addition to that, one of the things that we're going to go over, not only is the boutique, but I really want to go over the location of this because we're talking about the north side of San Antonio and how drastically that is different from the rest of San Antonio we're actually going to see. And I think when we look at the perspective of not only segregation, right, which pre-exists redlining, we have to bring in redlining because then we look at the property valuations and how that's different based on where you live, right? And so because of that, I based it on two different websites, right? One of them is through San Antonio redlining right here, or San Antonio redlining. This is through mapping inequality. And the great thing about mapping inequality is that you can actually layer it onto actual more recent mappings of it, and you can actually see how redlining looks in what is San Antonio today, right? when we can go over layers and we can go over the original document right here. You can go over the listings right here too as well. There's a brief context summary too as well right here with all the different locations around it that actually specify exactly what's happening in that location. Another one that I linked up in here is actually one through A&M San Antonio, and this one just specifically just talks about redlining in San Antonio, and it's actually really cool. And I recommend people use it. I'm going to go over some other ones and how we can add those to as well, because I really want to add the links to as well. But for that, kind of let's go back to the story map, which I just had right here. Where's that? Oh yeah, because I clicked on that. Yeah. Here we go. So that's basically how it looks. I did do a citation right here of this, at least this website right here. Briefly, I discussed the redlining around San Antonio, where these boutiques were at, generally when they were open by Selena. And then again, when we go across here, and this is what's really cool about the map, you can actually track to see which locations we're going to next. One of the locations we're going to go to is actually Sunset Station. That's probably the one that we're going to use instead of actually going through the Salina Bridge, mainly because it's 2 blocks away from the hotel, so people can just like really just walk there. And then if we go to Sunset Station, we can actually see not only where No Me Quiero Más was actually filmed, but actually we can actually see a little bit of the east side, right? And we could talk about segregation of the east side and development of urban renewal around this area and how this really looks. And the cool thing about this website is you can actually link videos. So as you're reading this, you can actually link the video of this in the background. I don't know if y'all can hear it, right? No, no. Is it just me? Is this my thing? Yeah, so basically you can hear, I think it's just like when I'm recording it, it's not like sharing. I don't think I'm sharing like the audio. There's sound. There we go. So here we go. Yeah, right. So it works out. It's really nice. Really cool one. And then we're gonna go over Sunset Station, what St. Paul Square really is, and that's next week. So we can go over that. Y'all can I'm gonna share you this link too as well. But St. Paul Square is a very historical spot, especially for segregation of African Americans. St. Paul in itself is one of the first Christian denominational churches for African Americans in San Antonio, very much along the lines of what was it, Baptist Settlement, which was actually over here by Hemisphere site. So what we start seeing is this migration of African Americans from this area to actually over here in Sunset Station, well, St. Paul Square. And the only reason why it's called Baptist Settlement was because all the different variations of Baptist churches that were there because of African Americans, post Civil War during Reconstruction, where we start getting these freedom colonies. And one of the things that we're actually going to cite in here next week is actually a freedom colony website, which I'm going to show you, which is actually really cool to see. Other locations that we're doing, Clifton versus Fuente. This is on the south side of San Antonio by Mayfield right here. Again, this is actually the site where, if you're familiar with this area, this is actual Frio City Road. But the great part about looking at this website and looking at the distance, actually, if you look in the background, and nobody really knows this, but if you look in the background of actually this van scene, it's all filmed on Somerset Road. Yeah, and so that's where we get them crossing Mayfield Street, the actual street where this actually court case comes out of play, right? Named after a KKK Klan member, Earl Mayfield, which Hardendale is one of these spots where we actually see this other person come into mix. His name is Thurman Barrett, and he's going to be owning a bunch of land on the south side of San Antonio. And this is one of the court cases that comes out of it because of that. And so that's the next one. And then the next one after that is, of course, Leslie, right here, right? If you want to be on board with this one, you can actually lead this discussion and show you and tell people more about this too as well. Rodriguez versus Teruel swimming pool incident, of course, right? It's a very big court case, especially during this exact time period where we're starting to see more people actually try to move into the south side. Away from the west side, and you're going to see this angle too when we talk about redlining. And what we also start seeing with this court case is very unique is that it's starting to use the good neighbor policy as a part of it. We start talking about the Caucasian Race Act that's happening because of Steve Koch, right? Koch Stevenson. And this is kind of like the way Mexican American civil rights is developing around this time period of the 1940s into the 50s. What does that mean, especially for this next generation of people, right? Leslie, go ahead and go. I don't know if you're going to say something. I'm so sorry. You're eating. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll be quiet. I'll be
So,
so quiet.
oh, sorry.
Take your time.
Sorry.
I can go. Yeah, I
Um,
take don't. Yeah. I'm
no, I
sorry.
was just gonna say, no, I think it's a great one to bring up as well. And two, the other thing that you can use to kind of still have that cohesiveness about it being the Selena Justice, the Selena, anything for Selena's social justice bus tour is the fact that next door, McCullum High School, is the school that Yolanda Saldivar graduated from,
No
but also the school that
way.
Divina Navaja went to.
Yeah, I mean a little about it. Yeah, for sure though. For sure. You know, he's my friend's uncle. It's crazy. I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
but maybe that's just a thing. But yeah, because his family went to McCollum. Anywho's, besides all that, I didn't know Yolanda Salvador went there.
Oh, yes. Yep. One of her relatives is one of my students.
No
She
way.
did, did I ever tell you that Yolanda Salivar is my cousin? I was like, Mija, I don't know if I would go around saying that. He would not tell me, but
Like, oh god. Yes, we're bringing that in. Yes, we're bringing this in. We have to. We
nice
have to.
to bring it like just in case they're like, why aren't we over here?
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's good.
that's one, and it's literally right there. So, and
That's
then two,
good.
the other thing that would be really cool with this one, beside it being the whole, questioning um, Mexican Americans as white and trying to get ourselves into those spaces using that justification as being classified as white, is the fact that George I. Sanchez is also part of the case.
Yeah,
He's also
George
one of
A.
the
Sanchez. Yeah,
attorneys, and like
yeah,
bigwig
yeah,
name in terms of Mexican civil rights.
yeah. No,
So
absolutely.
I was gonna say, so yeah, that was another. And tell me again the name that you said that was gonna be mentioned as someone who buys up land in the South Side.
Oh, Thurman Barrett. I can. So this is
Thurman
why
Berry.
we can talk about this later on. But this is so I've been working on an article for the past since 2020 about it. But like, yeah, it just hasn't been published. But yeah, it's like I really wanted to. That's why I was like, oh, you want to have a meeting again? Anyways, we got to get started because we're recording this. But like, yeah, absolutely, we can talk about that later on. We'll talk about this afterwards. But other than that, we'll go from there. But yeah, absolutely. So when we get to that one, definitely bring this up. We can have more information on this. We can get more information on this because I think this is like a really good tie-in with what we're also seeing at this point in time, which is the gentrification of the South Side, which was a former, what was it, segregated, not mainly majority white neighborhood on the south side of San Antonio. And what we're looking at is actually one of the first Selena murals ever developed after her death and her passing, right? And it's right here on the south side, and it's right here off South Florida Street, which is historical in itself, right? But this is actually a really good place to stop. Everybody takes a picture. We kind of get an understanding of what this looks like. And in addition, we get an understanding of what this is. I don't know if we can get the artist, but that'll be something for another time that we can talk about. But again, just thinking about this and how it looks. And then the last one we're going to do is Lermas, which I love, because Lermas is actually the nightclub where Abraham Quintanilla and his group actually, they go to that specific club in the movie at least. And what that club really means to the Mexican music culture of the region is much more bigger than actually what that scene really entails. The fact of the matter is that he was able to get in there is showing you how this cultural understanding of music is actually relative to most people, but language is not. And I think that's where we're getting at, right? Is that this transition from English to Spanish language is happening in this generational aspect, but we're also seeing the fact that like still because you're a Mexican American person, you're able to have access into some of these spaces that you could actually sing in, and I think that's like one of the things that we love. But I just love this scene because it's like, it's so classic, right? You just want to dance. Yeah, and I love that though. And I told Sylvia about this. I was like, hey, if you want to talk, that'd be really cool for you to talk in because I think this ties in so well with the West Side or History Project, West Side Sound or History Project. I think it's just great. But other than that, the last thing that we're going to do is not the Selena Bridge, that's just one for later, is just a reflection one. what did you gain from creating this project? And what I want the students to be able to gather from this is just simply put, tell us what your experience was in doing this project. One thing that we're going to geolocate is which school you're at. So depending on if you're like at Ardea Lake or NVC or UTSA, you just have to geolink the campus and then you just write down what you remembered about this project or what you liked about it, maybe something that you took away from it. Just really basic stuff, right? I did my old school because I went to PAC on the south side, so I just did mine. And I was like, hey, this is what I learned from this and all this stuff. Nothing real crazy, just a small reflection, right? Goat Ballaminos. Sorry, just had to say it like that. But let me get back into this though, because when we go all the way back into this, you get the overview, you get everything. But let me just go over how you do this, because how you do it, it's really easy to actually use. I think so. But I know that, everybody has their own way of actually coming to these projects. So one of the ways that we start doing this, I just really just always create a project. I'm like, hey, new project. So I'm going to create something called a new project. This is the title page. This is your first slide that you're going to see. For mine, it was like the Salinas mural right here. It was a Selena one. This is my title page. I did a brief understanding of it. So when we go over here, I'm just going to put the title of my new project. For this intents and purposes, I'm just going to put new project, a brief description, script, right? And then I could add actual pictures to this. You can add websites to this too if you really want to. I have a list of different sites that I already collected pictures from. So let's say I want to do the Selena mural on the south side. I already have a picture of that. So I'm going to upload it right here. You can actually do a website too as well. Like if I want to do this website, I can actually do it right here. And then it will show up on the left-hand side too, right? It's a very small scroll down bar of it, so it's not going to give you like a whole picture of it, but it's still pretty cool, right? So other things you can do, you can change the backgrounds to it. If you want to change the marker on it, that's gonna something that's gonna come on the next slide. But like I said, it's just like PowerPoint. So that's your title slide. The next slide is just gonna be your starter slide. So slide one. And then this is where the fun part comes in. This is where you can start geo-linking stuff. So if I want to geo-link St. Anthony's, right? St. Anthony Hotel. If I want to geo-link St. Anthony Hotel, all I have to do is literally just get the address right here, put it right here. It's going to show up and it's automatically going to do it for us. And I love that aspect
Oh,
right
that's
there.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And then other things you can do, just in case you can't really find it, you can actually just move this around.
Yeah.
Right. And then so just in case you can't really find it, maybe it's in the middle of like the Riverwalk, you just put it right there and that's fine. Because it's automatically going to give you the geolocation of it. Again, you're going to do a description. And this is where we get into not only the pictures, but we also have to get into just citations. I just, if the students do citations, I think that's a little bit better just to see where their sources are coming from.
Yeah.
But what we're doing right here is just credit. This is a picture, a pack.
Stop beating
Right.
the chair, dude.
So gonna do that. And then we're just gonna add a citation, right? And this citation can be from anywhere. I have a list of citations already in my previous one. So I'm just gonna use one of those, for example. Let's say I want to use this one right here. Let me edit it again. I already have a list of citations right here that I have. And I got these from different places. One of them is just the Portal of Texas History, which is online. I could send you all the stuff. Other ones are newspapers, right? This one's from Newsbank, which everybody has access to. UTSA has access to it. Colleges have access to it.
When
Even
you
the
say
public library.
citation, do you
Huh?
mean like the specific source for the photo?
Yeah, no, specific source for where I got the information from, at least.
Oh, okay.
Right. And then for this one, it's the photo and where I got the information from, technically. So it's actually from this one's a courtesy of the Texas Historical Commission. And then so
Okay.
I put that in, and then there's another one from Newsbank, which I use Hispanic American newspapers. So UTSA has that too already. Library has access to these, the public library too. So everybody should have access to it, at least if you live in San Antonio. And
But
the
it
colleges have,
feels like
huh? Sorry, go on.
It feels like for the purpose of our students, citations can be added after, right? So if
Citations
they're
can be added.
on the spot, they can say, here's my location, here's the preliminary ideas, and then they can finish their ideas at home. At home. Is this editable after it's published?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's
Okay, cool.
editable. Yeah, and so you're absolutely right. Like add it afterwards. Make sure you have them like correctly, and then you can go from there. That's the way I used to do it. Now it's a little bit more like I have to do this before this, but yeah, the process is about the same either way, as long as you have the information. And it could be in any citation method too, as well. And the one I use for at least history is Chicago. I know other people use APA, MLA.
Yeah.
I don't know the other ones, to be honest. But like, yeah, so to be honest, like you could just use those. I just use simple citations that you could get actually from the actual websites too as well. You
So
could
it
do
could
this.
be like they could add like a detail from history, or they could add some outside reference where folks can read more about some particular thing that they're looking at. So it's just the place where folks can find out more information, or where they might like, where did you invented this caption? Where did you get this information from?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So yeah, it could be that. And then with the description, you just have to like tell us what that location is about,
Mm.
right? In representation to the bus tour,
Mhm.
St. Anthony Hotel like doesn't really have any point of reference in the movie at all, but it does have a point of reference for us, and that's what
Right.
we're starting. So that's what we're doing. But you're absolutely right, because when we start getting to these other places, you start seeing that these citations or these references actually can be expanded a little bit more than just looking at the specific location. Obviously, for me, I just looked at redlining. But I think this could be whatever the student comes into as a part of this. For the aspect of redlining and all this stuff, I just really simply Googled the location of this place right here, and the building right now is for lease, but I was able to pinpoint exactly where it's at, and so I just dragged it to the location. It's basically what I did.
Oh, it's right there by the
And
zoo.
yeah, yeah. So if you're not familiar with this, I don't know if you know from Mankey Park. This is
I
like the
know
long
exactly where
park.
the zoo is. Yeah, and that little train
Yeah,
station.
yeah, exactly. And so where
So,
the zoo's at, it's right there. Huh?
yeah, so my question was, uh, how does this also intersect? Like right now, there's all of these lawsuits to protect the ancestral trees,
Mm-hmm.
like the 100-plus-year-old oak trees that are lining the river and that have lived in that ecosystem for so long, but also have witnessed the humans coming and going, like they're ancestral beings. And there's lawsuits because they want to just demolish everything and put in walkways and more, what is it called? Manscaping is not the right word. It's like pedestrian friendly landscaping. Totally wrong word.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the contestation is like there's ancestral knowledge as far as why these trees were here for the last 150 years, and now you want to just knock them down and build in some benches and some like low maintenance grass, but there's stories involved.
Yeah, and the story, what we can use of this, and I'll show you a project that we've done for preservation purposes,
Mhm.
is that's exactly what this is. It's preservation purposes of these significant spots. And if we can track the history about them, this is actually a very useful tool to use against urban renewal. Because
Mhm.
when you start saying there's no history here, and there's a whole language of history in different ways, then we start understanding like, no, 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 these are historical spots that need to be preserved. And you're absolutely right. The trees are just one aspect of this like changing neighborhood, but how long have the trees been there because they were planted specifically or they grew up in this specific area?
Mhm.
And we can connect it to, at least in this aspect, we really could connect it to the headwaters of the San Antonio River. We
Absolutely.
can connect
And
it
all
to
of
the
the water
Greek.
birds, like there's a whole ecosystem that these are the foundational structures of. Mhm.
Absolutely. Like there's no other way to think about it, especially when we're thinking about this region of San Antonio and
Mhm.
how it's developing apart from other places. Because if we talk about green space, this
Right.
is one of the largest green spaces that we have. Obviously, it
Mhm.
was donated before that, but indigenously, this is like a space that has been like, held a community for centuries because of
Sure.
the headwaters. And so when we're looking, and this is why I love the maps. I love maps when we look at San Antonio, because when we start looking at green space across the city, we really start seeing where the green space is at. It's really along the rivers.
Mhm.
But then when we go more central into neighborhood districts areas, we start seeing that these neighborhoods are like literally lined up right here
What are they called?
along
Are they
this.
called like heat sinks, or where it's all concrete and people suffer
Oh
from the heat
yeah.
more, right? So we could
Yeah.
also predictably say it's folks that are lower income or vulnerable communities where there's massive heat sinks. There's no trees because not even the trees can survive with so much concrete all around them.
Yeah. Because you need canopy in order to like have actual heat protection,
Mm.
especially like in San Antonio. Oh my gosh, right? And so, yeah, like this can
Ocean.
save many different things. What's up? Sorry.
I'm sorry, my perico is really mad.
No, 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 no.
It also, like, it calls to mind. So I live not so far. So on the map where you are right now, I live
Hmm.
just to the left, right at Vance Jackson and Fredericksburg. I'm actually on the map right here. I can see my little neighborhood. But what it reminds me of is that our local bus stops up and down Fredericksburg don't have bus shelters. And if I'm in the middle of
Mm,
a heat sink, it's an additional torture to have to sit at a bus stop where it's literally a bench on the side of the road where there's no bus shelter. So there's layers of information that I think are also really interesting as far as how do we understand how just to walk the world in different positionalities is a totally different thing. If that's your only mode of transportation, there's no way in San Antonio where it's over 100 for 9 months of the year. How
oh
do you
yeah,
get there and still be safe?
exactly. And
How do
then
our elders get there? How do folks with mobility devices get there?
how do you get to all these places? And then, to be honest, we can always talk about like just the use of highways in like these Texas cities that just like distinctively cut through major places. But if you don't have a car and you have to take the
Mhm.
bus, like how hard is that to transport
Mhm.
yourself across the city? Before San Antonio used to have a rail line across like its inner city, and then it tore it all up because of the advent of the car and what was it, parking spaces. And what we're also looking at is curbs and what does that mean and how does that look for places that don't have flood control, where they don't have curbs or they don't even have actual dwellings that actually can protect you from it. This is how we get the differences. And this is what's really unique about housing. Sorry, I'm just like I can go off on housing, but like we can get concrete foundation versus beamed like layered, like it's not a foundation, it's just sitting on beams. And the difference really is that concrete, you're not going to get anything coming up from the floor because it's a flat surface, but that's also a layer of protection away from your house getting flooded and torn through. So it's a permanent residence for a lot of people. So when we start seeing distinct locations, especially neighborhoods, or like modern neighborhoods at this point in time of segregation hitting the hardest, is that when we start seeing modern utilities being formed, indoor plumbing, these concrete foundations, we start seeing really how it looks between the two, and the value of these houses is different now.
Mhm.
Because now you have modern amenities, right? Even though now in 2026 they're much older houses, but where you see like the differences between neighborhoods. That being said, when we look at transportation, that is an essential part of what the variations of neighborhoods look like in San
Mhm.
Antonio, which is still the most economically segregated city. I love that we're having this conversation, by the way, because students need to hear about this and we need to talk about this. Yeah, so more, if you can bring up more, yeah, tell us.
It also crosses content. So it's not that everyone has to do history. Like I do science, straight up
Yeah.
science, but it's similar layers of information where even though it's a science pattern of where is their canopy and where is their heat sinks, um, arguably, I mean, a map is a map. It's still interdisciplinary information that answers questions.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm on a pier and
Fascinating.
beam.
And
My house is 100 years old, but we have no sidewalks.
No sidewalks.
Mm-mm.
Why? There's a
is it
theory.
better for the tour to get to the location and start talking there, or are you going to be talking as you're traveling? Because I did end up doing the mock, like the run through, and I'll give you the information and the like kind of timestamps of how long it takes to get from point A to point B along the route,
Yeah.
so that you can see exactly how much time you have to take. And I also kind of like documented other things that you can bring up as you're bringing up now,
Oh yeah.
just some additional items that you can use to generate like a further, um, not a script per se, but just kind of like the talking points.
Oh yeah, for sure though. Yeah, if you bring that up, I think that's perfect. Because I think, to be honest, like I've been on tours like this, and like when nobody says anything, I'm like, oh, I'm bored. But like, absolutely, I think this is like, no, it's like a really cool way because they're seeing San Antonio. Like they're gonna see San Antonio when they see these places, and like what's that building? What's this? This is like how it's going to go down. And so yeah, absolutely. The more information we can bring up, the better. And I think that's why like I really want students to really like one like go through like a training about this because students are going to lead this too as well. And if we get them to actually understand, like, hey, you got to be able to talk about these certain points or bring up stuff, maybe personally or whatever, that would help you out a lot, especially when you think about like helping people understand the city. Especially because these individuals that are probably going to book the tour are coming from like Califas or coming from New Mexico or Colorado, right? Like they're just coming from all over the place, and not a lot of them know San Antonio like the way we do. Southside, what was it like the way we do, right? So we just got to bring up like some of like the best, better, cool things that you could see. So if you got anything, let us know, and we can make like a list, and then we can have that list as actually a training tool for people too as well. I can make a document, and then we can just all add stuff to it, and that'd be cool. Like if you can bring up science stuff, you can bring up history stuff. Like, dude, be cool. Um, yeah. So that's pretty much about it though for today, because I just wanted to go over this part, where it's at, how it looks, how you add stuff to it, and like you said, Marisa, like students can add whatever and whatever perspective they're coming from in their discipline. I think that would help them a lot in order to understand this better. So anything that we can gather and anything that we can do to help them, that would be really, really good. If there's certain teaks that should be in here, let's add it. If there's certain things that we should talk about in here, let's add it. This is a community project that we just want to help out everybody. So, and if you can use this website for anything to document stuff and make sure you do it, right? That'd be cool. I'm gonna end this and then I'm gonna show y'all I'm gonna end the recording too real quick. Stop recording. Okay, so I'm